All right, ready for another deep dive? Today, those adorable toothy builders, beavers, they're getting their time in the spotlight.
Oh, this is a good one. I love when we get to uncover the unexpected.
Right. I mean, everyone thinks they know beavers. Busy, chewing on wood, building dams. But trust me, we're going deep on this one. We've got ecological intrigue, fashion fiascos, even a dam-building pet named Beaver.
Sounds like we've got a lot to cover.
We do. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's start with a head-scratcher. 1954, New York City. Picture a serious drought. Bear Mountain Park hit hard, except for one area. Lush, green, totally thriving. Their secret weapon, you guessed it, beavers.
And it's not magic, though it might seem that way. Beavers, they're more than just dam builders. They're ecosystem engineers. Those dams, they're the foundation for wetlands. And wetlands, key to combating droughts.
Okay, so how do wetlands actually help in a drought?
Think of them like giant sponges. Rain comes, they soak up the excess water, no runoff, no erosion. Then they release that stored water slowly, keeping everything hydrated.
So they're like natural reservoirs, keeping things balanced. That's why those beaver areas in the park stayed green.
Exactly. And it's not just about staying green. Wetlands, they only make up about 2% of the U.S. landmass, but get this, they support 80% of the country's animal species. Beavers, by building those dams, they're creating biodiversity hotspots.
80%. Seriously. That's wow. Okay, but back to the construction for a sec. How do they build those dams? I mean, I've seen the documentaries, but still.
Oh, it's remarkable. It all starts with those trees. They fell them using those incredibly strong iron-infused teeth.
Iron infused. Okay, now that's a fun fact I didn't know. What's the science behind that?
It's all about the enamel. Most animals, they use magnesium, hence the pearly whites. Beavers, though, iron oxide. Gives their teeth that reddish color, plus makes them incredibly strong. Acid-resistant, too. Perfect for a lifetime of, well, gnawing on wood.
Talk about the right tool for the job.
Yeah.
But the trees were just the beginning, right? What happens after the beaver fells its timber?
That's when the real engineering kicks in. They use those teeth to trim the wood, shape it, and they drag it, float it, get those pieces right to the dam site. And we're not talking just a random pile here. They weave the branches together, use mud, stones, almost like a natural cement to hold it all together.
It's like they've got some innate sense of how to build.
It's remarkable and ambitious. You know that beaver dam in Wood Buffalo National Park in Canada?
The one that's...
Huge, visible from space.
Yeah. I always thought that was just like a natural thing. Wow. But hold on. You mentioned different types of beavers before. And something about Mongolia.
Ah, yes, the Mongolian beaver saga. It shows you, even with good intentions, gotta know your ecology. We've got three main types: North American, Eurasian, and, you guessed it, Mongolian. Looks similar, but each is adapted to its own environment.
And someone tried introducing Canadian beavers to Mongolia. What happened there?
1970s, Mongolia's wetlands were in trouble. Someone had this idea: bring in hundreds of Canadian beavers, figured they'd get to work, fix everything right up.
Makes sense. Kinda. Help one ecosystem with experts from another.
Right. Except the Canadian beavers, they weren't ready for the Mongolian steppe. Harsher climate, different plants. They just couldn't adapt. It took until, 2012, I think, for a new team to try again. This time with European beavers brought over from Germany.
And those ones, they did okay.
Thriving. Much better suited to the environment. Been busy restoring those wetlands ever since. Shows you, good intentions are one thing, but a little ecological know-how goes a long way. All this talk about different beavers, their adaptations, it makes you realize they were nearly wiped out completely at one point. We all know about the fur trade, but how did beavers go from, like, a luxury item to almost extinct? Well, those strong teeth, the ones that help them build, they're also the reason for those luxurious pelts, the ones that nearly drove them to extinction.
You're talking about beaver felt hats, right? Those old-timey ones everyone wore.
Exactly. Back then, beaver felt, that was the material for hats. Waterproof, durable, and fashionable. Everyone who was anyone had to have a beaver hat.
So basically, beavers were the fashion icons of their day.
In a way, yeah. And just like fashion today, it came with a price. Literally. There's records from the 1600s. This guy, Samuel Pepys, he kept diaries. Fascinating stuff. Anyway, even he was complaining about the cost of a new beaver hat. But that demand, it decimated the European beaver populations. And once those started to go, well, the discovery of abundant beavers in North America, that didn't help things.
Oh, no. History repeating itself, especially when it comes to, using up natural resources.
It's a pattern, that's for sure. And that European obsession with beaver pelts hit North American beavers hard. And it wasn't just the hunting. That demand led to conflict, too.
The beaver wars, right? I remember that term vaguely. What was that all about? Beaver Wars.
That sounds intense.
It was. Imagine this. Different indigenous groups, some allied with the French, some with the British, all wanting the best beaver territory, the trading posts too. It was chaos, honestly. Brutal even. And it all went back to those beaver pelts Europe couldn't get enough of.
Wow. A whole war over hats. It's kind of mind-blowing.
It really shows you everything's connected. Someone wants a hat in Europe, and it impacts people's lives, their destinies, thousands of miles away. And that's not even mentioning the beavers themselves. Imagine the impact on them caught in the middle of it all.
They were hunted almost to extinction, right? So how did they come back from that? Did hats go out of style or something?
Well, fashion does change eventually, but the beavers, their saving grace, came from a surprising place. Salmon. Hold on, I don't see the connection.
Okay. Think about the early 1800s. America's just bought the Louisiana Territory, right? Huge chunk of land. And they got to survey it.
So Lewis and Clark.
Right. But their expedition, it wasn't just about maps and rivers. It was about economics, too.
Because salmon, that was big business.
Exactly. Major exports. So Lewis and Clark, while they're exploring, they're also looking for anything that meant a lot of fish.
I'm starting to see it. They noticed that beavers meant healthy rivers. Healthy rivers meant more fish. More fish meant more money.
You got it.
Yeah.
It's funny how often money ends up driving conservation, isn't it? Back then, they didn't know all the ins and outs of ecosystems like we do now, but they could see that. Lots of beavers, lots of fish, everyone benefits.
So the beavers' economic value saved them.
Basically, yeah. That, plus people slowly starting to understand how ecosystems worked, led to protecting them. And today, well, the beaver is a national icon in Canada. From nearly gone to a symbol of the country.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
You know, what I love about these deep dives is, yeah, we learn about the science, the ecology, but there's always these stories, myths even, like ancient beaver legends. Who knew?
Right. It makes you think, how did people back then see these animals? The Cree, for example, they had this legend about a beaver causing a huge flood. That power over water shaping the world.
Makes you wonder how many other stories are out there.
Yeah.
What other animals have we misunderstood?
And then you've got those vortex stones. Had people thinking aliens were involved? Remember that?
Oh, yeah. Turns out those were just giant ancient beaver burrows.
Giant. We're talking a prehistoric species, some of them hundreds of pounds. Imagine stumbling across that on your afternoon walk.
Talk about putting our modern beavers into perspective.
Mm.
Speaking of which, we can't forget about Beaver. Now that's a story for the ages.
Beaver, the dam-building pet. Proof that sometimes you can't escape your instincts no matter how you're raised. This woman, she finds what she thinks is an orphaned baby beaver.
Adorable, right? But I'm guessing it wasn't all smooth sailing.
Not exactly. Beaver's got to deal. It's in their nature. So
Wow.
Beaver, he's got this loving home, but he can't help himself. Starts building dams.
Around the house, what did he use?
Anything he could get. Shoes, blankets, toys. Even found him trying to drag furniture around, make a dam in the living room.
That's too funny. But it really highlights how strong those instincts are. And it makes you think, these creatures, they survive near extinction. They're thriving in a world dominated by humans. They're survivors, plain and simple.
They are. And proof that nature finds a way, even when things are tough.
Well said. So, from ancient legends to dams, you can see from space, from fashion icons to a dam-building pet. It's been quite a journey.
It has. It just goes to show sometimes those unexpected creatures, the ones we think we know, they have the most to teach us.
Exactly. So next time you see a beaver, don't just think, oh, there's a furry little dam builder. Remember all this. The history, how well they've adapted, how important they are.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And hey, listeners, maybe this sparked some curiosity. Go do your own deep dive. You never know what you might find.
Until next time, keep exploring.